Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by TaylorMade.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I felt like what got trickier as the day went on is the wind was swirling. So my distance control was great the first 11 holes, and then we started, misclubbing here or there, usually long, and it would turn. I mean, it would be right to left where we're standing and left to right, where the pin is. So it's harder to trust. So I didn't get many great looks the last 7 holes like I did the first 11, but still a good solid day. I didn't put too much pressure on myself to, get it up and down. I hit most of the greens, I think.
Before we talk a little bit more about you, what did you think of what you saw with Bryson today?
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal what he's done to be able to put on that much muscle mass and increase, swing speed, ball speed, but still have great control. And, that part of his game looks just as good. So really impressive, and, it's inspiring, for us guys like me who kind of are that mid-pack of length, to keep working at it in the gym, keep getting longer. I've gotten longer the last couple of years, not at the rate he's going, but it's definitely cool to see.
All right, so Simpson an early factor. What does this tell you, Brandel?
Well, if you're looking for a sort of a reversal to the mean with Webb Simpson after a solid round in round number 1, you're probably not going to get it, because this guy just keeps going from strength to strength to strength. Only Rory McIlroy has a better scoring average than him on the PGA Tour. And again, he's a reminder that you can still get it done. You have to be extraordinary in other areas of the game, and it is a golf course like this that does allow him to become a good driver of the golf ball, if only for a week. You can go back 3 years on the PGA Tour, and only 3 times has Webb Simpson finished an event in the top 10 in strokes gained off of the tee. 2 of those were at Sedgefield, at Wyndham. Another of them was at the RSM. These are par 70 golf courses. They're short golf courses. They're really tight golf courses. So they hobble the longest of hitters. He was in the top 10 in strokes gained off of the tee. And then, once you've allowed him to put himself out there in a position that is equal to the best in the field off of the tee, well, it takes the rare golfer that's going to be able to compete with Webb Simpson. We don't talk about him a lot because he doesn't spend a lot of time hitting at 350, right. And he's only won, and I say only, 6 times. But that's a fantastic year. But when you if you listen to the broadcast, you heard them talk about how Dean Beeman had in mind building a golf course similar to Harbour Town at the Players Championship, one of the venues where he's won. When you get on these types of venues, Webb Simpson is still capable of being a superstar. And
in the last couple of years, he turned what was a weakness, the putting in the wake of the anchored putting ban, into a real strength. And then, as you and I were talking before we came on air, his great attitude, his constitution, makeup is very strong for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the putting woes are in the rearview mirror. He benefits, I think, from having his coach also be his caddy, who also happens to be in the world of golf, if you're lucky enough to have a relationship with some of these players, and you happen to know Webb's caddy, you know as well as I do that you're talking to one of the most positive people that you've ever run across in your life.
6 wins, just one more victory than he has children. He and his beautiful wife down have 5 wonderful kids. And now to Bryson DeChambeau. You heard Webb talk about Bryson, and the driver that is taking on mythic status could not be fully utilized today. Here's Bryson.
I couldn't unleash the Kraken today. There's no way I couldn't unleash it. It was just too tight out there, and the wind was swirling all day, and I couldn't feel comfortable to give it a good whack. But was still able to manage keeping it mostly in the fairway. Need to do a better job of that tomorrow, and work on my 10 o'clock shots and just a couple putts. I didn't putt terrible. I just messed up on a couple.
How many drivers did you hit today?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I'll have to look at that. It was around 5 or 6.
Were you told as you were warming up to stop hitting driver because ball's running up in the 8th fairway?
No, it was into the wind today. So I wasn't getting it there. I probably was hitting it on the 8th green, but I was not told that. I might have, but...
Just to be clear, when you decided on this sort of physical transformation, was there a moment that led you to it? Or was something been in the back of your mind for a long time?
Yeah, well, I got bored.
Oh.
I love the game of golf, and I love the journey that it takes me on, and I want to keep pursuing different avenues to try and get better, be the best I can possibly be, and I felt like this was one that I could accomplish. So right after Shriners, I essentially said, okay, you know what, I'm just going to change things up a bit.
But over the last 3 years, let's just take the driver out of it. Strokes gained approach, he's averaged 35th off of the tee. You can make a lot of money doing that. Strokes gained putting, he's averaged 29th. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, it doesn't seem that long ago that we were talking about all the trouble that he was having on the greens. To average 29th in strokes gained putting in the last 3 years, again, you can have mediocre skills all the way and up to the green. Mediocre, not terrible, mediocre, and you can make a living averaging 29th strokes gained putting. So considerable skills all the way through the bag.
He's a guy now. I mean, he's probably the most talked about player. Granted, we've only been back a couple of weeks, but he's the most talked about player currently in the game. It gotten to a point, Brando, where it's kind of like, what's Bryson going to do today? Not this week. And there are very few players about whom you can say that. You know, it's a Rory, it's Tiger, it had been Phil. He's becoming a star, and the interviews are kind of fascinating. They're fun to listen to. We had a Kraken. We had a 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in sport, you need that in a sport.
Right. But I mean, we look at Phil and we look backwards. You know, we look at Tiger and we peek towards the future, but we look backwards. You look at Bryson and you see the future. You look, I mean, that's where you're looking. One guy in the history of the PGA Tour has averaged over 320 yards off of the tee. I got paired with him one year, Hank Keeney, as I'm talking about. In 2003, Hank Keeney averaged 321 yards. I got paired with him at Memphis, and the first hole, I think it's like 410, but it's a dogleg left. I remember, you know, you laid up and you hit 9-iron. And he hit this drive, and I said, well, where did that go? And he said, it should be on the green or it'd be in the left bunker. And he was in the left bunker, greenside bunker. But there was a sense, and people love to say this when someone comes along like that they're a freak. Not really. I mean, it's great technique. I mean, as Bryson has displayed this year, nobody was calling him a freak last year, okay? So now he's averaging 323, the longest anybody's ever hit it on the PGA Tour. This isn't freak. This is him with again, I said it earlier, it's a monastic form of discipline that we're talking about here. I mean, he posted on Instagram this video of him, 14 minutes long, and you saw him sort of alone in his house, brooding, thinking, you know, going through some sort of things in the pandemic that all of us were doing, things around the house, but you just got the sense that he was thinking. And the result of all that was some 20 yards that he didn't have last year. Everybody would love to have that, but you just don't see it done very often, certainly not with this degree of accuracy.
Another guy who seems to have benefited from the time away is Jordan Spieth.
Today wasn't really a roller coaster because that triple, again, it was a bogey at worst if it just doesn't ricochet 25 yards out of bounds. So we're certainly Sunday last week was, and that was my first time in that position in right around 2 years, being anywhere near within 3 strokes of a lead starting a Sunday. So I expect that to be, you know, not quite sharp yet. You start to feel more comfortable the more experiences you get. And today it had nothing to do with last Sunday. Again, wasn't too bad of a tee ball that ended up out of bounds, and so I just tried to tell myself that I've been driving the ball really well and continue to, you know, if you're putting it in play off the tee here, you're going to get some wedge opportunities. So I really enjoy playing this golf course. It's one of the cooler courses, and I haven't had necessarily a ton of success, but I also haven't played it very often. So I'm looking forward to, you know, continuing on my back nine today.
All right, Brandon, he's not all the way back to where he was, say, 3 years ago when he won 3 times his last victory. In fact, 2017, the Open at Royal Birkdale. But he's on his way, and he's fun to watch again. What are you seeing?
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's never not been fun to watch. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I mean, I think one of the most underrated and exceptional performances last year was at the PGA Championship when he pinballed all over the place, deep rough, and managed to finish third. He had the best putting week of his life that week, the best putting week of his career. And last week was the second best putting week of his career, and he finished 10th. It's the worst he's ever finished when he's putted like that. So, you know, you came here and you thought, well, maybe this is a little different because he doesn't have to hit driver here. He could just sort of eke it out there to a turn point and then go to work. But even having said that, there's 151 players in this field. He's almost dead last, close to dead last in strokes gained off the tee. Close. And first in strokes gained approach. Now, you start to look at players who are first in strokes gain approach who have struggled off of the tee, and it's a small group. Like, Henrik Stenson in 2019 was 163rd in strokes gain off the tee, and he was first in strokes gain approach. He's a different player off the tee than he is with his iron swing. There's a lot of reasons for that. But he only had 3 top 10s. I mean, driving is hugely important. I mean, if you get back to Tiger Woods in 2013, he struggled off of the tee, but was first in strokes gain approach and won 5 times. But he had power. Yeah. So Jordan Spieth, it's all, last week he drove it better and his irons were terrible. This week, at least in one round, it was terrible off of the tee, but his irons were extraordinary.
Let's hear now from the co-leader, Ian Poulter.
It was very important being bogey-free. Anytime, again, that happens on this golf course, you've obviously played pretty well. I think it's a great course. I love coming here. It's a fiddly, testy, tricky golf course. You have to kind of, sometimes maneuver the ball around, trees that are on the right or left edge of the fairway. So I like it. I like the small greens, and I've always loved coming here to play golf. I played 3 or 4 rounds of golf in that spell of 3 months off, and it was apparent that as soon as I come back to hitting balls, I felt like I was swinging pretty good. I felt good about my game, and every time I went onto the range, I felt like my game was good. So, I got off to a decent start of the players, and then obviously we had that big pause. So I think for me it was good to have the kids at home for that period of time. So to be honest, it was, I was super active. I was, as you guys probably saw, I was busy on social media. I was doing lots of different things around the house, and the time actually 12 weeks went very, very quickly. So as soon as I felt I was playing well, it was all of a case of getting back to playing golf. And as you said, I'm not one that plays round after round after round after round to feel that I need to be ready to play golf, and I've enjoyed it today.